having an amazing day. It's one of my favorite months of the year, in part because on the 26th of July is the anniversary of the American with Disabilities Act that was signed by Congress, that actually was a civil rights legislation that gave equal rights to those of us who are disabled. And it's very broad, and it allowed things like handicap parking and access into public transportation and education and getting jobs. It was 33 years old this week, and the Biden administration wrote a lovely proclamation acknowledging the 33 years. You know, there are a few things that come to mind. 33 years is not so young, right? Like, let's be honest, it's been around. So sometimes people are surprised, like, oh gosh, how are we gonna have to make this accommodation? You have to make it. 30% of the population identifies as disabled. We're all getting older. We're all gonna need some disability supports. It's just reality. They continued after they wrote the original document to add Title 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it added things like state and government regulations. It added some protections for discrimination in employment and insurance. And it continues to get added, and there was a miscellaneous piece for things that got missed. It really is quite amazing. I have an unbelievable story though today. Handicap parking for me has always been kind of a mixed bag. If I'm feeling great and I can get a closed parking space, that's what I do. I absolutely don't use the space. However, if I'm tired, if I have something that I have to carry, or it's harder for me, I really value access to that spot. So today I was going to the dry cleaner. There was a car that was blocking the handicap parking space because they were inside Panera getting coffee. A policeman came over from my beautiful City of Falls church and said, do you really want to get in that space? And I said, yeah, I need help. And I showed him my cane. So he went and got the man and had to move the car, and then actually came and said, I'll tell you what, it's a tight space the way it is. Why don't I help you? He helped me get into my space. And I thought, that is so, first of all, it was very touching. I was completely overwhelmed and grateful that he helped me. But parking in handicap parking spaces, when you don't need them, to me, is like the ultimate discrimination. It's inconsiderate, it is elitist, it is so insensitive. Just because you have your grandmother's placard or someone, but you are able-bodied, parking in that space is a problem. I find it difficult to get in and out of buildings. If I can park close and get in, it gives me my independence. If I was in a wheelchair and I could get right off into the ramp and not have to go 3 blocks away, that's important. It's really important to think about the world at large. And for those of us who are disabled, those benefits that we got through the ADA to let us function independently are critical for our survival. So I was really grateful for the police today. I really needed that help. I'm always looking for accommodations. I walk with leg braces, I have a cane. There are places in this country that are so disabled friendly, and it's unusual. You don't see it everywhere. I mean, in the United States, it really is unbelievable. In August, we go to a beach called Rehoboth on the Delaware shore. It's lovely. Been going there for a bazillion years. It is the most handicap-friendly beach I've ever been to anywhere in the world, anywhere. Each entrance onto the beach has like a rubber or plastic carpet, so you can walk way down and not have to walk on the sand. For someone like me who's got ankle foot orthotics or leg braces, it's very hard to walk on sand. If I have that walkway, I can get way down, it doesn't hurt anything. They have special sand wheelchairs. Every entrance has this. Every street that you cross has a dip, so that you don't have to lift your foot to get up on a step. That's really hard for me. When I'm walking around New York and I can't get to the dip because people are plowing through it, for me, I have to think like, oh God, don't fall, you'll be okay, you can do it. But it's a lot of work. And having these adaptations out in the community really makes it so much easier. It talks about education. People learn differently, and that we must make those accommodations. People who have neurodivergence and hear things differently and process things different, learning disabilities, they need special accommodation. So that if you have a visual impairment and someone sends you paperwork and you can't read it, that company needs to make a bigger font. They need to make it so that you can read it. If you are at a play and you can't hear it, they have to have someone who either signs, or they have to have special apparatus for you to get sound. It's an accommodation. I agree. But every one of us is getting older. And every one of us are going to need services at some point. So it's naive to think it's just them, it's not us. But what's the dignity that surrounds it? How does that work for people? It already feels awful as a disabled person to constantly have to ask for help. I have this conversation with my husband, Bob. Please don't make me ask for help all day long. Please, just do it. If he knows that I want to get a giant soup pot out and it's going to take every bit of my energy, he just comes and does it. He doesn't say, do you need help? Because the answer is, yes, I need help. Can you help me? So I feel like the ADA is kind of a little like, can I help you? Can I just do it without making us stink about it constantly? And can I make you not have to ask for help all the time? Can I just make the world a little bit easier for you because you struggle enough on a daily basis? I think it really is amazing. I've traveled through Europe where they don't have those accommodations and it's difficult. And it's difficult, you go somewhere beautiful and everyone's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Look at those buildings, look at the walkways. And all I'm thinking about is, oh God, look at those cobblestones. How am I not gonna fall and kill myself? How am I gonna stay upright? How am I gonna get into those buildings? There's no railings. In the United States, it's a requirement. And so it does make it easier. I know we have a long way to go. Honestly, we do. We still discriminate on the basis of disability all the time. And people don't get jobs because they're disabled. I get questions all the time. Should you self-disclose? And honestly, I understand the struggle. It's like threading a very thin needle. I am obviously disabled. I have a cane. My gait is off. I can't hide it. Though I have to be honest, when I was much younger, I used to do crazy things before an interview, like tape my hands so that my wrists weren't floppy and tape my ankles so that no one could see me wobble around. And I would wear jackets that were long so you didn't see my hands. And I constantly was trying to figure out a way to look like I was everyone else. But here's the thing, I'm not, it's just what it is. I think what the ADA gives me is a dignity to be a disabled adult who is navigating the world, and that some of the environment and some of the architecture and some of the provisions in the documents allow me to get services. It's really important. And I think that oftentimes we do not consider the culture of disability, and it is a culture, honestly. I mean, I feel like I'm a magpie for other people with disabilities. They just find me everywhere I go. And it's because it's so nice to talk to someone else who struggles, who gets out of the bed and says, okay, feet, you have to move, or okay, I need help. These are hard things, and it is really so often feeling like you're on like a pod and under the quicksand and you're stable and you're like, all right, I got my footing, I'm good. And then all of a sudden the sands change and you're like, oh God, where's the next pedal that I could step on so I don't fall through the quicksand? And that is not easy to do. Someone I used to work with said to me one day is, no one can imagine what you do before you even get to the office. And I was so grateful that he said that, because to even understand that is amazing to me. But the truth is if you would see what it was like to get my limbs out of bed and get dressed and do what I needed to do and be all cute, it's a lot. It takes a lot of energy. Individuals with any disability, no matter what it is, just the act of getting up in the morning and getting dressed and doing your regular activities of daily living and then leaving your house is monumental. So that when the world is a bit accommodated, so that you can park closer, you can get public transportation that you can get in, you are not discriminated, you can have a job, you can get into your doctor's office because you're in a wheelchair, you can get into the bank because you're in a wheelchair, you can function as an independent soul, or as independent as you can be. Some of us have aids in their lives, and I have some friends who have that, and it's just what it is. People do what they need to do. It's just nice that in this country, we can celebrate 33 years of trying to acknowledge that individuals with disabilities really struggle, and that it's okay. It's a civil liberty to be treated with dignity like a human and not to be discriminated against. So today, while that wonderful policeman helped me get my parking space, so grateful, I'm just feeling very gleeful today and feeling grateful that in our country there are at least movements to give more support for individuals who are disabled. And I just wanted to say happy Disability Pride Month. I have a very cute cane here that I want to show you that matches my dress. I'm super excited about that with my blue glasses. Hello, warriors. This is an add-on to the last video. I know we said July is Disability Month, but quite frankly, for those of us who are disabled, we're disabled all the time, all year. So while it's lovely that there's a month, it's all the time. I just wanted to tell a story and let you know kind of what happened yesterday. I was traveling from Detroit, waiting in line to get onto the plane on the runway. I was clearly standing there with my cane, super cute. There were 3 people in wheelchairs, and one of the people in a wheelchair had either parents or aunt and uncle or friends, someone with them. And so it was clearly, they said, people who need a little extra time, come up. So I was standing with my cane, 3 wheelchairs. So the woman who was checking people in said to me, come this way, because she saw I was standing, I had a backpack. And so I came through. I was clearly going to be the slowest one down the runway because I wasn't in a chair. I was ambulating. And the guy behind me goes on the top of his lungs, hey, I'd like to get a little of what she has because we're here and this person's in first class. I was like, time out. I'm sorry. Stop. Did your mother not tell you if you have nothing nice to say, zip it up? Like, dude, she was trying to help us get on the plane faster because I was going to be walking slower, not with wheels. So here's my moral of the story. It is not easy any day for any of us. We're only human. And I think if we all had a little grace for people who took a little extra time and who were different, it would be really nice. And in return, here's what I can speak of for myself. I will always be gracious. I will always say thank you. I really appreciate when you open a door for me. I appreciate when you ask if I need help. I appreciate when you stand back and don't push so that I don't topple over. I'll tell you another story. When I was raising my son, who also has disabilities, someone said to me, how come you're so strict with him? And I said, well, it's not that I want to be. It's just that no one wants to help a kid who's bratty and not gracious. And I owe him to be a gracious human being. And so all I can say is that everyone needs to say please and thank you. When someone does something nice for you, say please and thank you. Your mother taught you that. It's very basic. It's not like complicated. It's not based on socioeconomic. It's not based on knowledge. It's just basic. Say please and thank you. Give everyone a little grace. We're all doing the best we can. Just be thankful. For if your body is completely able, then you don't need any help, or those who need some help, all of us should just be saying please and thank you. So warriors, that is my tidbit of the day, my add-on. The next video is going to be about friendship, completely different than disability. And so I'm starting to get that ready. Look forward to that next time. Hit the subscribe button. Talking to you and seeing who wants to hear and give suggestions. I love all the feedback. And I hope you are all having an incredible, amazing day. Go slay some dragons. Bye-bye.